All right. What are we talking about? What's up?
Actually, you know what's on my mind?
Oh my God.
This is how we're going to start this video.
Okay.
Why the fuck do people want to hear cold start videos?
I gotta bleep this out already?
Why do people want to hear an engine running in its worst time? Why do people do that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, but let's play cold start. Show me your cold start videos. You're going to see no cold start videos on this channel, I promise. Okay, why are we really here though?
I think we're gonna do a breakdown on the cost of the hoopty.
The 1.8 hoopty, yeah. So this, for guys following along that are interested in 1.8T turbo content, this is gonna be perfect for you guys. We're gonna chat about how much it cost us, or how much it would cost to replicate the 1.8 hoopty. So in our case, as mentioned during the video series, we had 95% of the stuff here, or we borrowed a couple of things from some friends. But this is going to give you a good idea of what it would cost to do a big turbo 1.8T setup. So it didn't cost us this, but this is what the hardware would cost at least.
And if we had to pick up stuff used or what have you.
Yeah, this isn't going to include any of the labor, any of the tuning time, any of that stuff that's going to help finish the project, but it'll give you an idea. I get the question all the time. We see it in videos. What's it cost to do this? This is going to give you a rough, really close idea. Can you do it for cheaper? Sure. If you want to put strictly eBay stuff on the car, garbage, or strictly used stuff and you want to pick away at it, for sure you can do this stuff cheaper. But to do, a decent setup anyways, this is the breakdown. So first thing on the list, Clayton. No, you don't need to show my list, man. First thing on the list.
Turbo.
Turbo.
It's important. You need it.
So the turbo, in this case, we used basically a knockoff. On that car, that turbo was like 700 US. So keep in mind, turbos are you can buy stuff used, you can buy stuff new, you buy quality stuff. You're gonna spend anywhere up to like 2,000 bucks US. We used a cheap turbo in this case, but a lot of the builds you see on this channel, we're using Garrett turbos, genuine Garrett turbos, and you got to pay to play, but they do last forever. So if you're trying to save a few bucks, turbo is not usually the thing I'll skimp on, but
in this case, we
did.
Yeah.
Next on the list, manifold. You can do anything from a cast manifold to a tubular, whatever. In this case, we borrowed a tubular manifold, but if you were to pick that up used, I would say you're going to probably be $600 to $800 maybe used. Something new in a tubular manifold like that, you're going to probably spend $1,200 to $1,400 US.
And again, you can use a log manifold, but you're not going to get the power level.
Right, you're not going to get as far. But to make there's some decent log style manifolds, or sorry, not log style. There's some decent cast manifolds out there that will get you 400 or 500 horsepower, no problem. In this case, though, the tubular manifold is what we used, and that's what it cost. Intercooler is the next one. We used a Vibrant intercooler on this car, typical intercooler that we'd use on Mark IVs. That's like 330 bucks US. The next big one on this specific application, we use the ECUMASTER EMU Black. That plug and play harness and ECU was $1,400 US.
Plus dyno time.
We'll get to that. Next is blow-off valve and wastegate. Those are going to be, the wastegate's like $425 and the blow-off valve is $250. Those are for tile versions. So yes, maybe a precision version is a little bit cheaper if you go with something else. We're giving you a ballpark in this video of what was used on that specific car. So next is charge piping. We basically used a 2.5 inch universal kit on this. So charge pipe, couplers, and clamps. And those are generally around the $250 US range for decent stuff anyways. You can get them a little bit cheaper sometimes, but the stuff we use, that's typically what the price of the kits are. Then you need return line kit, which was $90 US. Oil feed line, $35 US. Injectors, you need to fuel the thing. In this case, we used a set of 870s cc's, and those were $300, around $300 US for the set of 4. And we didn't use adapter pigtails on that.
No, we didn't have to.
On those ones, but sometimes you'll need, depending on the injectors you use, you'll need pigtails as well. Clutch, in this case we used the ECUMASTER FX 750, 725, 725, that's what they are. Those are $1,600 US. It's not what you need for your typical setup, it's just what we used in this case.
But really, any decent clutch that's going to hold that power is going to be probably $1,200 to $1,600.
It's going to, well, on the 5 speeds, you're going to spend probably $1,000-ish, but $1,000 to $1,200, and just going by memory. And then the 6 speeds are going to be anywhere from about $1,400 to $1,800 typically. 6 speeds are way more. In our case, we just ran the exhaust basically out the hood, as you've seen. So it only cost us like $50 in material and flanges, and the pipe, O2 bung. For a regular car, though, you're going to need exhaust on the car because you're not going to make, 300 horsepower even on a stock catback exhaust, especially on a Mark IV, because the exhaust is pretty small. Then we got a couple small things that would be required: vacuum line, vacuum fittings, which is about $30, give or take. And then another big one is fuel pumps. We use 2. I see you nodding your head, Clayton. Like, oh yeah, fuel pumps. You need those.
Yeah.
We use 2 Bosch 044 pumps, and those are like priced typically for genuine Bosch 044 pumps. They're like $230 US.
Probably recommend buying new pumps, honestly.
Yeah, so as
we
you've
freed
seen,
a couple up.
Yeah, as you've seen, those pumps sat around and they were seized up. So buying used pumps is definitely going to be a gamble. In this application, we used 2 because of the ethanol that we were running and stuff like that. It needs a bunch more fuel. You wouldn't typically need to run 2 pumps on the average pump gas setup, but again, we're trying to break down what that setup cost. So the other couple small things were obviously coolant, oil, and some flywheel bolts, a couple little miscellaneous things, which is about $100. So the total for that part of it is $6,800
USD.
US
Bald
dollars.
Eagle dollars.
Yeah, and that
Not beaver bucks.
not beaver bucks. That is with no tuning, no cost in fabrication, no cost in labor to do any of the install, and no engine mods. That's completely stock engine. So yeah, we did pretty good so far with the power on that thing. But again, that kind of power level on the street, it's not going to be practical. It's probably not going to last that long. So you have to keep in mind all the cost of this turbo setup, plus if you want it to live, you're going to have to do some minimal things to the engine, like connecting rods.
Or that turbo is just not going to be a big turbo. It's going to be a much smaller turbo to be at that 300 horsepower range.
If you don't want to touch the engine,
fine. You'd probably be right around that power. Even with just a tuned ECU, you're still not saving much money off of what an actual standalone setup will be.
Yeah.
What you will save, though, is some dyno time.
Right. So Clayton does make a very good point. Say you didn't want to touch the engine at all and you wanted to keep it stock and you wanted to run just a smaller turbo, the price is still the same. Still, you're going to spend around $6,800 US if you do everything yourself. The couple things that we had additional to that, as you guys would have seen in the video, in regards to the fuel lines, the fuel fittings, the fuel rail, fuel pressure regulator, that was about another $645.
Fuel cell?
I didn't even add the fuel cell on there, so that was probably $200 cell, I think. So the grand total for us would have been, I don't know, I have to pause that.
7,500-ish?
So the total for the miscellaneous stuff that we had came to $7,445.
Still like $7,500.
Basically, yes. And again, yes, you can do this cheaper if you're trying to, you know, buy some used parts and buy a lot of, you know.
Go check out some eBay junk and
Garbage.
then have it last a run.
Right. So in our case, as we've said multiple times on this channel, buy nice or buy twice. You go with a cheap turbo or you go with a cheap wastegate, and the next thing you know, the car's overboosted or the turbo's failed and taken out the engine. There's multiple things that can happen. For us, we didn't care about the engine. We had lots of stuff kicking around, so we threw everything we could at it to see what we could make for power. And in our case, we've done pretty good.
Yeah, all we cared about was the car, not the engine.
Did we care about the car? Yeah. So speaking of the car, Clayton and I are going to go out and drive it. The way the weather's been and stuff, it just hasn't allowed us to get out and had some fun with it yet. But that video is going to come and it is going to happen. And then after that, we're going to put it back on the dyno. From what the internet has said, it looks like the record might be around the 460-ish wheel horsepower, 461, I think, on a small port, small pinned 1AT. There are a couple guys that have spoke up that are running a large port head and the bigger 20 mil wrist pin engines, still stock, but not quite the same in this case. So our goals are to try to make some more power yet. So for those following along, curious, would you guys be interested in us trying to do a live stream with that one?
Ooh.
I don't know if Clayton and I are ready to try to tackle that, but if you guys are interested, once we get out and drive the car for a bit and we try to push it for a little bit more power, let us know below if you guys are interested in trying to see a live stream of us trying to do that. Now that the car's basically tuned, we're just getting to the point of turning the boost up now, so it won't have to drag on. Yeah, quicker go. So let us know. Clayton, what am I forgetting?
I don't know, man, that was a pretty good list. So I think...
It's not cheap to do this.
No, it's not really obtainable or sensible to think about doing what we did for this money either, because it's just, the car, it's not going to be a fun car the way it is for this money.
I could make it a fun car.
For
less horsepower.
less horsepower. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying too. For exactly what we have here, that's not why we did this.
Yeah, so forget about the horsepower and the stock engine stuff. You know, just looking at what it's going to take to make 300 to 400 horsepower in a 1AT, it's at least going to be this much. Depending on how much more you want to do to the engine, sky's the limit, really. It can get way higher in expenses, way higher, way higher. You telling me to wrap it up, or am I telling you to wrap it up?
You're telling me to wrap it up, but...
So, we want to thank all... Oh, actually, this month, we hit 15,000 subscribers and 16,000 subscribers.
Ooh, that's good.
We're over that. We're 16,100 something. So thanks everybody for jumping on board. Thanks all the patrons for the support. We'd love doing this kind of project. We'd love to do another one. The cost, as you can see, some of this stuff can get very expensive, so all the help with the merchandise, we really appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to ask them below. We'll see you in the next video.